Hey there, Jordan Chariton live. It is Monday, May 8th, the year 2023. Joined by Tina-Desiree Berg, who obviously does the right wing insanity report. Oh, let
Whoop
me
whoop.
turn that off.
On Fridays
Um,
now.
does the right wing insanity report, among other things. And we are obviously going to react to what can you say? Another day, another mass
Another mass
shooting.
shooting. Yeah.
And this one, it is clearly coming out now, uh, is fascism and right wing extremism slash neo Nazism, it seems.
Yeah,
Smash
looks
the
like the
like
guy's an
button.
actual Nazi. He's got he's got a swastika tattoo, so we're gonna show that in a second. But at first I wasn't sure. Right wing death squad is also a right wing meme. We see a lot of Proud Boys that have referenced that via like Pinochet, throwing communists out of helicopters, 4chan memes, whatnot. So it's not always indicative of being a neo-Nazi thing, although it has been a neo-Nazi thing for much longer.
Right. So we're going to get to that. Then I'm going to have on a guest from Kalamazoo because we have an update in the story, one of the stories that I recently covered on the road, which is a toxic paper mill that is emitting over 30 toxic gases and, frankly, killing poor black people in Kalamazoo, Michigan. You will not, maybe you will believe, but I could not believe this. After 3 years, they finally came out with some data acknowledging that this plant is releasing toxic gas that is above or is threatening health. Wait till you read what the Michigan Health Department is doing or not doing about it. What else? What else? By the way, Tina, I'm hearing myself, I think, in your headphones a little bit,
Are you?
like a slight
Like
echo.
an
So,
echo?
yeah, I don't know if Colin is not here. That's why we're late, and that's why it'll probably be a disaster. But let's hope for the best. All right.
Yeah,
So,
I'm back, you guys. I've missed you the last couple of weeks. We've been on the road covering stuff. We'll also
yes.
be back Thursday and Friday this week. I'll be back with Thursday with Ron and a new episode of Right Wing Insanity on Friday.
So smash the like button, share this live stream. We're also going to go through some of the clips from my reporting in Flint, my reporting in Kalamazoo, and Lewis's reporting in East Palestine. Looking forward to all that. Let's get to the details. Obviously, we know that 9 people, including the gunman, were killed at this shooting in Allen, Texas, at a mall. This shooter, I'll just read this. Tina sent me a bunch of photos, which we're going to show some of them. But this is from NBC News, which just came out, I believe, before we went live. Um, a social media page appearing to belong to a gunman who killed 8 people at a Dallas area outlet
Oh, yeah.
mall.
So that's where I
Shared
got all the photos from. Yeah.
shared extremist beliefs with rants against Jews, women, and racial minorities.
Yeah.
By the way, Jews and are minorities, but a breadth of different minorities, black people and others, posted on the account since September, as well as posts about struggling with mental health. Mauricio Garcia, 33, maintained a profile on the Russian social network platform OK.ru, including posts referencing extremist online forums such as 4chan and content from white nationalists, including Nick Fuentes,
Also, a
and
big
anti
fan of Tim Pool. Lots of Tim Pool on there.
yes. And Nick Fuentes, who we know Trump broke bread with and then pretended not to know who he was. Nick Fuentes is about as in your face, white supremacist, anti Semite as they come. In the weeks before the attack, the shooter posted more than 24 photos of the Allen Premium Outlets where the mass shooting occurred
Yeah.
Saturday.
He was
And
geolocating. I think they were check-ins on the social media site. It looks as if he was just checking it out beforehand. My guess would be to see what the traffic patterns were when there were the more people there shopping than versus less and things of that nature.
Right. He also posted photos of a flak vest emblazoned with patches, including one with the acronym Right Wing Death Squad, popular meme among far white extremist groups, which we'll show you pictures. Another post included a series of shirtless pictures with visible white power tattoos, including SS lightning bolts and a
And
swastika.
swastika.
That
Also, a
one,
map of Texas on his arm. So
yeah. So let's show you that one. I I'm not positive that it's him. I don't know if he was just posting an image of somebody else, but I think
it
it's him.
I think it's
So,
a selfie of him, but it's not 100% confirmed. There it is. Yeah, so people can
yeah.
see what we're talking about.
So
So you
here's the
see
lightning bolt. Yeah.
yeah, the SS, the swastika, but also the Texas on his arm. So
Right. So that's one. Also had make
I mean,
communists
also it says,
afraid.
here's what I think of your diversity. I mean, that's sort of a
Yeah. So under it, it's a little blurred, but if you could read it, here's what I think about your diversity, you fucking losers. So
all right, hang on. So let's go pick the next photo. I'll talk. I sent Jordan. Bear with us here. I sent Jordan a bunch of photos this morning. Some of them are from the shooters' social media. Others are of just some significance to understand what right wing death squad is. As far as
here is one. I don't know if this is from him, Tina. The Hillary.
No, this is not from him. This is just so RWDS. This is a hashtag that a lot of right wing extremists use this. So it's not necessarily indicative of being a neo-Nazi, right? So you have Proud Boys. I'm going to show you some photos of that too. This is a Peppy meme from 4chan. I think it was originally moved to Twitter, posted on Twitter with the hashtag RWDS, but it's a very common, RWDS is very common. You had the Fraternal Orders of the Knights, the Kyle Chapman, Enrique Tarrio, when they were at Charlottesville, when they were there. This was supposed to be the militant wing of the Proud Boys, broke up after Charlottesville, but they all had RWDS patches on their tactical vest that day. In fact, Tarrio, Jeremy Bertino, I've seen Joe Biggs, all of them. So right-wing death squad, it's a 4chan meme. It could mean nothing more than I want to throw communists out of helicopters. But it's been used by neo-Nazis for a much longer period of time for obviously what we're talking about here today.
And by the way, you could tell how great the production quality is since Colin's not here. I don't know how to make it. I don't know how to make it any better. So whatever,
That's all right.
deal. Anyway, smash the like button, share this live stream. We also have. Was this from him?
Which one are we? Oh, so no, this is just, I wanted to show, this is the neo-Nazi version of right-wing death squad. So right. that is very close to the patch. Yeah, his was black and white.
About that. Yeah, he did have stuff about the right-wing death squad. And correct me if I'm wrong, but did you mention to me before that Proud Boys folks wear this? Some of them?
But it's a different patch. I'm going to show you what that one looks like.
Okay, well, maybe it's this one.
Yeah, there you go. One. It would be that one. So they also have that RWDS in the red and the black. That's often printed on their T-shirts. We've all talked about the Pinochet. I mentioned it earlier in the show, actually. But, the reference here, as far as I'm concerned, is we're going to throw the communists out of the helicopters. It's the Pinochet meme. I mean, they don't literally mean they're going to throw communists out of helicopters. But, and I also think this is important to understand. A lot of people think that Hispanic folks can't be neo-Nazis. That is absolutely, get that out of your brain right now. There are a lot of neo-Nazi Hispanic folks. This is not unusual. The Hispanic community is quite large. Many of them identify as Spaniards, as Europeans. They think they're white. They're very racist. So in my course of covering right-wing extremism, I have seen a lot of Hispanic right-wing extremists. It's not unusual at all. But you do see people all over the place saying that he can't be a Nazi. He's Mexican. Just not true, unfortunately. Just not true.
And also show you here. 1 second. Here's another one. Proud Boys wearing the right-wing death squad.
Right. I believe that was at Charlottesville. So here's Joe Biggs. If you can look into his arm there, you will see that he has a right-wing death squad tattoo showing on the bottom.
And who's Joe Biggs, if you could tell
Joe
people?
Biggs is part of the Capitol insurrection, longtime leadership of Proud Boys, just the usual stuff.
So to be clear, Fox and right-wingers, when there's a shooting with, Mexicans or Muslims or black people, wall to wall, but if it's a white supremacist that goes to the Buffalo and kills 10 black people, we're not going to get as outraged by that. Thoughts and prayers, mental health. But in this case, it's kind of a pickle for, I guess, the right wingers, because right or wrong, I mean, you are pointing out that there are Mexican, Latino people who are.
It's not as unusual as people would like to think it is. It's just not.
But it doesn't really fit into the right-wing narrative.
Right. That's correct. because they view things in terms of having these, boxes that are very stringent. And no group is monolithic, but, this is a big community. The Hispanic community is quite large, and there is the colonial Spaniard side of that community, and they view themselves as white. And they are very, very much racist against any of those folks that they view as indigenous. So when you're looking in from the outside of this community as, a white American, it doesn't fit into your narrative, right? But people sort of need to kind of question what that narrative is, I think, at this point. We have, a group here in Los Angeles that does neo-Nazi metal shows, and the person that runs them is a Mexican.
Right. Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's just one but many examples. It's just really not as uncommon as you would imagine it would be.
So, Tina, we pretty confident this is the Manifesto from
it was
the
posted
shooter.
on his the same account here, the OKRU account. This is the same.
So I'll read some of it. It's pretty deranged. Sorry, I can't make it bigger. This is what happens when Colin has the temerity to take some time off to rest. He was on the road for 2 weeks, so I'm not going to get upset about it. RIP to all victims and my condolences. My condolences, Foyd Soy. Real men don't murder innocent victims, Chad. Just because the shooter is trans doesn't mean trans lives don't matter, Soy. No, all caps. Fuck all of that noise. It's also empty, fake, and boring. Every school shooting to me is the perfect time to be a completely horrible person and see this event like a sport or a comedy. The most important thing about a school shooting is to know the race of the person who did it, the kill count, and then compare their accomplishment of murder to all those who came before, and also learn intricately the life of the killer so memes can be made. Because let's face it, killing people in an interesting way is an art that earns a lot of respect just inherently. The tenuousness of life forces it to be this way, and to play into the moral banality of it as normies do is kind of gay to me. It's funny how pomp and circumstance to murder reaction has become this, quote, forced solemn church moment, as we are all forced to affect around in public in order to feel normal, when the reality is, I just know, all caps, a lot of people are just like me and want to revel in the schadenfreude. The media fucking proves it. They will never miss an opportunity to cover the event and cater the coverage exactly for sick fucks like me. That part's true. Because the heart of the matter is, we all know it's just a fucking spectacle at this point. And the spectacle and the killer are far more interesting than the boring fucks who were killed. There is always humor in darkness. So the Nashville shooting was particularly interesting because a bitch broke the ER barrier with a decent kill score for the first time. Obviously referring to the shooter was a female.
Yeah.
This is like the greatest accomplishment of feminism ever. For a Foyd, even though a tranny, but still a vagina haver, to feel so empowered that they could take it upon themselves to pick themselves up by the bootstraps, get their gear in order, and successfully go ER is a moment Valerie Solonis would be proud of. Only feminism could have taken biological women to the logical extreme of embodying the highest pinnacles of toxic masculinity. And, Tina, some people will say you shouldn't read that, but I think it's important. People should know this is kind of...
I agree. At this
point,
is
kind of
we have a
weaving in.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, this is kind of weaving in just a buffet table of right-wing insanity.
4chan. Yeah, we've got some 4chan stuff in there. We've got some Nazi stuff in there. Frankly, the Yakuza
again,
reference is a little strange, I think.
Again, let's just say what it is. Tim Pool is calling it a trans genocide. And people like Tim Pool, Matt Walsh, use all this crazy language about the transgender community, and they're very, very, very obsessed with what teenage girls or boys do with their bodies with their parental consent. They're equating this to mutilation and genocide and etc. And from what you said, he was a big Tim Pool fan. So I'm not saying Tim Pool told him to do this, but they're getting their hatred, they're getting their
Well,
misinformation.
they get influenced by, I mean, far right media accounts are definitely influenced the conversation here, and also, I couldn't find a Telegram account associated with this individual. That doesn't mean that one doesn't exist. I simply couldn't find it. But I do think, these guys get together. There's, on Telegram, which is what we call the extreme far right on Telegram. They call shooters saints, right? So Dylan Roof, Tim McVeigh, like any far right extremist that's done a mass shooting or some sort of act of terrorism is considered a saint in their world. So they sort of glorify that. You kind of see that in the dialogue that he's sharing here. I don't know how we unwind this pull, but a lot of this is very much psychological, and these kids get drawn into these circles and they think it's glorifying, right? They are, a lot of them are accelerationists at this point, or they're what we would call black pilled. They're nihilistic. We live in a world right now, and especially, here in the United States, where income inequality is rabid. It's out of control. These kids can't afford to go to college. They can't afford to pay rent on the shit salaries that they get. And I think that is absolutely contributing to the place that we're in right now. You even see a lot of these, believe it or not, a lot of these far right fascist accounts are now, talking about being anti-capitalist. It's becoming quite common to see that, which is kind of, counterintuitive in a way, right? But I think there's a reckoning that's coming, and it's coming from people not being able to make ends meet. Feeling angry about that, not having elected officials that listen to what they have to say, right? So they inherently see the corruption that exists, a bot Congress, billionaires that sort of dictate what happens. And their solution for these things isn't what, people on the left would say is like a Bernie Sanders kind of a thing, right? So the left they're not supplying a left-wing exit to the income inequality. So what we're left with right now, I think, is this sort of cesspool of anger and right-wing extremism that doesn't seem to be abating anytime soon.
Yeah. And I think that, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, right? So you have some people that, we're not only talking about mass shootings, by the way. I mean, I have covered a lot of Trump rallies. I've covered a lot of right-wing events where you see Proud Boys people there. You see kind of white militiamen people there. I remember during the 2016 RNC in Ohio, which was open carry, there's a lot of kind of these militia types walking around, and they're not all mass shooters. Some of them just are trying to
it's not. Yeah. So saying RWDS isn't necessarily indicative of doing a mass shooting. That's the thing, right? So it's easy to have hindsight and be retrospective of what you see on these social media posts. But I have to tell you, Jordan, I see posts like this all day long, and from people that are never going to do a mass shooting, right? So it's really difficult to distinguish when that changes, when that switch flips, right?
Right. And let me also, where did I put it here?
I don't know, but it is increasing.
He also had, here we go. He also had.
Yeah, no, I don't. Somebody's saying in the chat, being anti-capitalist is not the problem. What comes next? I don't disagree with you. Being anti-capitalist isn't the problem. It's where these folks are finding solutions. But my point to that is that unless the country addresses the root causes of what we're seeing, I don't see things getting better anytime soon. And
here is something he posted on, I guess, this Russian whatever website, My Kind of People. So he had, I guess, a newlyweds in a mini, what is that, a Beetle or a Mini Cooper with a swastika on the front.
Yeah, and I want to point out that this is not him. This is something that a photo that he's posting that's, had made the rounds at some point, I suppose. And this is in Mexico. So,
right.
Again, flying in the face of this idea that you cannot be Hispanic and a neo-Nazi. People need to get past that.
I think what I was getting at is I think that a lot of these people that are falling into the white supremacist rabbit hole and extremist rabbit hole, it's not all for the same reasons. Some of them just grew up with racist ass parents and they got it from them. Some of them fall on hard times and they fall into this blame it on the other, and they get a lot of their stuff from Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool, Matt Walsh, Steve Bannon, Trump. Right. Some of them, were isolated in school or bullied in school and then kind of fall. So they kind of, you know better than I, but in my experience, people that fall into this kind of extremism pipeline, there's different kind of gateways to it. But at the end of the day, they are being radicalized in many cases by media sources. And I would say by no alternative message. There is no alternative message.
No, not only no alternative message, no alternative solution. I think that if you had seen a President Bernie Sanders, I believe we would be seeing a different country right now. I think my point is that the Democratic Party isn't offering a counterbalance to this fascism, right? They're just saying we're going to run more corporate banksters, and we don't see the problem with the fact these kids can't pay for college, can't afford rent. We don't see the problem with paying people a $15 minimum wage when your average rent in Los Angeles is $2,400 a month. What's the problem here? Like, my point is that the anger is stemming from some very real political problems that are not being addressed. Even if somebody has been in an environment where they had racist parents or had, particular things happen to them at school, whatever, bad things, it doesn't necessarily mean that those things can't be abated by some of these things being dealt with. I'm saying we're in an environment where everything is radicalized for good reasons. And when you put all of these guys together on Telegram in their private chats and they start coordinating with each other, and mind you, it's not just Americans in these same chat rooms. Like, I can go into any one of these chat rooms at any particular time and there'll be somebody in there from the Nordic front, somebody from France, somebody from Russia, all mixing together and talking about these things. Their versions of white nationalism are becoming much more not necessarily about what we would consider state boundaries, right? America, France, right. Sweden, whatever, right. But more about finding an ethno state where they can all thrive in together, right? Right. So,
well, I also think a big part of it is just human nature, and I think this is why Trump was so successful in 2016, and even though the natural laws of gravity, he would be politically dead 100 times over by now, but he's not.
He's not. He's being resurrected people, as we speak.
When people, whether it's economically they feel left behind, or society they feel left behind, or they don't like some of the demographic changes, or whatever it is, if people feel threatened or desperate, they want to feel like there's some fight that they could join. Yeah. They want to feel like there's whatever
they feel solidarity with these folks, right? I mean, it's not. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think you're correct. They felt isolated previously, and they no longer feel isolated in these chat rooms because they're finding like minds. And it only takes a couple of very extreme individuals in these chat rooms to start, red pilling, radicalizing those that maybe not be as far down the pipeline as they are. And right. Then you get invited to the next chat room, which is even more extreme, right? So a lot of these organizations, groups, whatever, individuals have public-facing accounts. And then you can apply to become, part of their private chat, or maybe even meet. They're active clubs now. They want to meet and recruit you in person, obviously. And then beyond that, they have, the third layer sometimes of chats where a few times I've stumbled into those, and those are like, yikes, get me the fuck out of here. Holy shit, what am I seeing?
And I should also point out, many of Garcia's posts were also misogynistic, railing against women,
100%.
parroting language used in incel communities. In the posts, Garcia references specific incel forums and valorizes Elliot Rodger, whose 2014 mass murder spree in Isla Vista, California, is celebrated in incel communities. Can you kind of explain that to people? Because you're
So the Manosphere, we're going into the Manosphere now. So incels, these are involuntary celibate. These are men that basically, I'm going to talk to you about this as a woman would. These are men that basically can't get laid, and so now they're taking their rage out on women, as opposed to like maybe looking in the mirror and asking questions as to why they're not getting laid, right? So they think that they can rape women. That's perfectly acceptable. Elliot Rodgers did a mass shooting based on this idea, hatred of women. He killed a bunch of people. So this has been a growing part of right-wing extremism. I would say Andrew Tate is part of that. Maybe not obviously as extreme as Elliot Rodgers is, but certainly part of that manosphere where he, advocates many of the same ideas, right? Be a man. It's okay to, just take a woman and do what you want to her, kind of a thing. Women don't have, agency in this world. So, but a lot of this is also driven by anger.
Which, by the way, I mean, I don't know the Proud Boys anthem or whatever the hell they tell you to chant to get initiated, but isn't part of it about being a white male
cereals. It's the names of cereals, Jordan. Cereals.
Oh, I thought it was about a white male chauvinist or something like that.
Well, there's multiple levels. So the first one is that Western chauvinism quote. The second one is you name cereals as you get punched, so you work your way up.
See, in my fraternity, I just had people do my laundry for me. That was my hazing. But here, get me McDonald's and Taco Bell when I was
your
high,
next degree,
too.
You're like, you take a physical assault of an anti-fascist.
But there's also multiple things here. I mean, we could split it into have the United Guns of America discussion and how this is just insanity. Also, the nexus of the fascism is growing. Frankly, you look at the polls. Now we have Democrats that are polling truthers and don't believe the polls because the polls for Biden that just came out are horrendous. His support among independents is horrible. Yeah. His support among black voters, which is how he got elected in the first place, I think it went plus 75 down to plus 35. Plus 35 might sound good, but not if it was.
No, it's
plus
not
75.
Good. I mean, Jordan, here we are again at that place where they're saying pick a lesser evil, and Americans keep getting more and more fed up with that. They want something better. They want to believe in somebody that they can vote for. And I just don't understand why the Democratic Party isn't hearing that. I would also add that the biggest chunk of voters in the country are the non-voters. Why aren't they reaching out to increase those numbers with independents? Why not have a primary and, see who wins that? Why stop, a Bernie Sanders from winning that primary when he's as popular as he is? If the Democratic Party chose to do all of those things, I think that they would find themselves permanently in power in the country. But
right. And I also don't buy, you. I mean, I've been focused on doing some investigative reporting on Flint and other stuff. But the few clips I've seen reacting to these polls, the media, the punditariat, as I like to call them, all these old white elitist gas bags on CNN and MSNBC, they're basically saying, no, the reason Biden is tanking is because people are concerned he's old, or people are concerned he's not,
But that too would be a valid concern, would it not? I mean...
But I don't think it's that. I mean, Ronald Reagan won in an overwhelming re-election in 1984. He wasn't exactly that lucid.
He was not lucid at all.
So I don't think it's because Biden is old and, reports came out that they don't like having him out before 10 a.m. or after 4. I think it's because at the end of the day, it's all smoke and mirrors. We get bullshit after bullshit. The lowest unemployment rate in 50 years.
But who cares if that's the case if the jobs don't pay you well enough to make rent? I mean, they are constantly making arguments that just aren't really addressing what reality is for most Americans. That's the problem. I agree.
And Tony, is this hat for sale? Get your ass over to StatusCoup.com/store where everybody watching can get your shirts.
Yeah, I need one
for
of those.
The summer. Your towels for the summer, your iPhone covers. I do believe the hat is for sale too. We got a bunch of stuff.
iPhone covers. Wait, Jordan, I need a new. This one's been ripped apart one too many times.
Well, you've done some stuff for us. I'll send you one for free. StatusCoup.com/store. StatusCoup.com/store. But at the end of the day, I mean, people don't remember because January 6th, etc. Trump specifically lost. If you looked at all the exit polls in 2020, he didn't lose because of his fascism. He didn't lose because of his racism, sexism, Islamophobia. Right. He lost because he really badly mishandled COVID.
I agree.
Which he only lost in Wisconsin by 20,000 votes, if memory serves me right. Pennsylvania didn't lose by that much. Arizona was pretty close. Georgia was pretty close. So the actual electoral count was significant. But in each of those core states that Biden flipped, I mean, COVID, it is still a thing, but in the media and the government, it's not anymore. Right. So you don't expect that to really weigh on the decision. And frankly, the American people are generally not our audience, but the majority of voters aren't really in tune with they're just going to listen to Trump say, well, the economy was good under me. We didn't have inflation. We have it under this guy. Bring me back and we'll go back to the good old days. Right. And most people are not nuanced enough or don't have enough time to see, well, inflation is more complicated to that. It's global. Sure,
it's
Biden could have
profiteering, which
Biden could have made it better.
Trump is, he's a phony populist. This idea that Trump addressed any of these things is completely not true. He gave massive handouts to the wealthy and corporations. So, but I don't think it matters when you have the message that he has and people are hurting and they choose to believe it, regardless of whether it's true or not. So,
right. And I also think people need to understand.
Yeah, Dems are actually right wing.
People need to understand, because it is all smoke and mirrors, and we'll talk more about this with Steve tomorrow. But I mean, people are, working more than one job. We know a lot of these jobs that they're counting as, job ads, freelance. People get screwed around where their hours go under 40 hours. So they aren't necessarily getting great benefits, gig workers. And now you have all this fucking automation and AI. I was on the road. I've never seen so many automated McDonald's in my life. They now have automated McDonald's with one worker and that's just crazy. Like kiosks. You're starting to see that in more and more places. So people, everyone has selective amnesia.
The shitty jobs that never paid enough are going to go away entirely is what I'm hearing.
That is why I think Andrew Yang, his idea was correct, that we're going to have a jobless society at one point.
Yeah, he's not wrong on that.
I think his form of UBI was not correct, but we do need a form of UBI. But at the root of it all, we have a corrupt government that has been sold. We have legalized bribery. Chris Garrett sent me a bigger United Corporations of America flag that I'm too stupid to figure out how to put up myself into the frame. So when Colin comes back, he'll hang up my much bigger United Corporations of America flag. I tried to put it up myself. I couldn't frame it right. But anyway, tying back to fascism, at the end of the day, are we Germany after World War I? No, it's not that bad.
In some ways. I mean, I don't know. Maybe
we don't
it's
have
my
the bread
little world.
line. We don't have the bread lines as thick
economically,
as
I got you. I think
we have a silent economic crisis that's been going on and building for 40 years, and that also breeds fascism. And by the way, can we just...
I agree.
Yes, it is Republicans, to be clear, but let's just disabuse the fact that Democrats don't play a role here on this
they 100%
mass
do.
Carnage. I don't want to hear about mental health anymore. Let's not even have that bullshit discussion. I think there have been more mass shootings in 2023 than days in the year so far. I read that.
Yes, there has been. And you know what? You're right. You bring up the mental health, and I think we should talk about that for just a moment. Every other country out there has the same per capita measurements of mental health in their countries as we do. There isn't more mental health problems in the United States than there is in other countries. So this cannot work alone to be an explanation for why we have more mass shootings. It just can't.
But you want to know something? How about a little presidential leadership? And this goes to Obama, too, who after Newtown shed some tears. In fairness, I think they were genuine, and then said, well, I can't do anything because Republicans have control. Well, you do have legs. You do have the bully pulpit, and you could barnstorm the country and tar and feather these motherfuckers and shame them. You could also, as president, demand that the media stop covering these mass shootings, almost like a play-by-play of give us the background on the shooter, this, that. In some cases, it matters. In this case, I think it does because it's obviously a hate crime. It's not just...
Yeah, this is clearly a hate crime, I think.
It's not just like, oh, this person was isolated and bullied in school. But generally speaking, most of these mass shootings, you know exactly what's going to happen. The CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, they're going to give you the who, what, where, when, and why. The shooter's background, the names, the faces, the heart-wrenching stories. This person jumped in front of this person. This mother, shielded her daughter. All that's important, and we should know the names because they're human beings. But at the end of the day, in Britain and other countries, they would be bringing on these parliament officials, these MPs, and they'd be bloodying them up and really aggressively going at them. Why are you refusing to do anything? They would have experts on, not that they have the same constitution that we have, but they'd have some experts on to actually say, this is not what the Second Amendment means. They would show Greg Abbott in Texas's corruption. You don't see that in our media. I mean, how many, what's the number? 100 people are going to have to die in a mass shooting before that's the camel or the
I
straw
don't
that broke the
honestly,
camel's
Jordan.
back?
I'm not even convinced at this point that that would be enough. If Sandy Hook wasn't enough, I don't know what is.
Uvalde,
quite frankly.
Uvalde as well.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, we're at the point, and a 5-year-old was shot, on Saturday. My point is like children are dying, innocent little children, babies are dying. If that isn't enough to empower Congress to fucking do something, I don't know what is. I honestly
James,
don't.
I don't know where you're getting that statistic, but that's not true. 95% of the mass shootings we've had this year are not minority folks or gender or race.
That is entirely false. Yeah, what is he talking about?
I don't know if you're talking like a Bill O'Reilly talking point about Chicago. Maybe that's what you're talking about. But yeah, no. Actually, most of the mass shootings we've had are actually white people.
They're white
shooting.
men. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
That is not a controversial statement. And almost 99.9% of acts of domestic terrorism are committed by right wingers.
And can I just say, Tina?
And let me tell you, that is the FBI data. That isn't mine. And so if you think the FBI is some like lunatic anti-fascist left wing organization, I'll just laugh. I mean,
can I just say, Tina?
And I'm like, really?
Can I just say? And I'm not letting Democrats off the hook. Sure, Republicans technically are the ones that legislatively won't do an assault weapons ban. However, there are things that Biden could do by executive action. He just hems and haws. Well, I don't know if it will happen in the courts. But at the end of the day,
so what if it pisses off the Republicans? They're going to be perpetually pissed off anyway. Just fucking do it already. We can't.
But at the end of the day, if Republicans have always had a boner that we're the party of national security and we're the party of national defense, and the Democrats clearly are just as in bed with the military-industrial complex, well, where is the political leader? I know Bernie's, hanging with his friend Joe and just endorsed him, which is a whole nother fucking thing that I could go on for 2 hours about. But where is the people to say, well, this is a national security issue? We have an almost $900 billion.
They don't see it as a national security issue. That's the problem, even though it is clearly.
Isn't national security preventing foreign threats to killing Americans? So death is death, whether it happens at the hands of a foreigner or a domestic attacker.
Right, but
so this is a national security issue. There are more people dying, Americans dying from gun violence than ISIS or Al-Qaeda cells.
It's not even close.
But we don't talk about it that way. You don't say thoughts and prayers after 9/11. We start fake wars. But here, what do you get? Thoughts and prayers. And by the way, I would say, the Democrats are basically canceling the primary. But if you were Marianne Williamson or RFK, you vote for whoever you want. I'm not gonna be covering. Well, I'll cover him, but RFK is not my cup of tea. But I would say this.
I find him very problematic. But
where is the politician that's going to say, here is the executive actions I'm going to take on day one, and here's why they're legal? Because I think that could be pretty effective. So, there's so many different things you could get into, but at the end of the day, we clearly have a rising.
I'm tired of, can't say, Jordan, I'm tired of them using the Republicans are going to get pissed off if we do that as an excuse. Republicans do this shit all day long. So when does it turn about as fair play? How many executive orders did Reagan do, for example? How many did Bush do, for example? These guys did way more executive orders than any sitting Democratic president has done. Yeah, what is it? These guys don't have any balls. They're not able to, take a strong stance on something. I just don't understand it. All they do is enable the fascism with what they're doing. And meanwhile, our democracy, what's left of it in the corporate states of America, is dying.
Well, at the end of the day, I think, what you see is what you get. Frankly, any one of us, like 200 people watching, any one of us tomorrow, today, tonight, tomorrow could go somewhere and get blown up. That's not normal. At this rate, you have a better chance. No, it's not normal,
but it is definitely possible. I witnessed a shooting, not a year ago. You're right. And it can happen anywhere, anytime. And the fact that is the case and that's the reality that we're living in is just fucking unacceptable. It doesn't have to be this way. I'm tired of people saying it has to be this way. No, it absolutely does not. It doesn't. We are choosing this path.
Tina, before I move on to my next subject and my next guest, the floor is yours. You are the Nazi hunter here at Status Coup. And I would just say, I don't want to over dramatize it, but I will say this is your area of expertise. It's not my area of expertise, but I will just say going on the road, and obviously I haven't been on the road as much because my wife was pregnant and now I have a newborn, but going on the road, I see a big difference between when I first went on the road 7 years ago and now. Even if it's covering like a Flint, even if it's covering, we're going to have an update on Kalamazoo. Even people that you wouldn't look at them and think they're extremists, people are getting fed up for a lot of reasons, and it's making a lot of people that are good people susceptible to kind of being radicalized. It might not necessarily be into white supremacy, but it might be radicalized into QAnon. It might be radicalized against trans people. It might be pick your adventure there. But what should be the takeaway? That clearly more information is going to come out. Clearly, this guy was a white supremacist. Seems like either directly a neo-Nazi or just neo-Nazi adjacent. Fox isn't going to highlight that. Steve Bannon's not going to highlight that. I doubt we'll even hear much from Trump on it. But do you?
No, there's very good.
Should we expect
very good people on both sides, Jordan?
Should we expect to see more of this? Maybe it's not mass shootings, but
no, yes. I mean, I'm seeing absolutely. We are all seeing an uptick on all of these sorts of things. Pipe bombs we had, and you know the really unfortunate thing, Jordan, is not getting reported by any of the cable news situations. You would think that a group of Peckerwoods, you know, tossing out 5 pipe bombs in the course of a week would make headlines. We're at the point now where that doesn't even make a headline. You know, the thing that worries me the most right now is sort of the accelerationist group, because these are individuals that want to bring about the Civil War, if that's their beef. They want to bring about some sort of anti-government fall, if that's their beef, you know, whatever stripe it is. But the accelerationists want to make that happen quicker. And most of those guys are willing to do anything, you know, to have that happen. You know, I will give the example of, you know, Nathan D'Amigo, you know, going to the Atlanta anti-fascist Cop City protest and, you know, being there and photographing it and reporting on it and following that by, you know, rants about anti-capitalism. This is a guy that was, you know, starting Identity Europa and was at Charlottesville. You know, he hasn't paid it out, but he's been left with a large lawsuit payment that he's going to have to come good on. Point being is that it's just this hot soup of extremism out there right now. You know, and we can, I just don't see the point of correcting any of it unless we address the root problems. I just don't. It's like standing in front of a dam and putting little pebbles in different spots while another one is bursting out over here, right? The anger and the rage in the country is very much real. I think it is mainly driven by economic problems. I mean, we're worse off now than we were in the 20s as far as income inequality is concerned. People have very valid reasons for being angry, and they're becoming more anti-government. And oftentimes that anti-government feelings are taking on, you know, fascist or neo-Nazi principles, because they're being told if they blame the immigrants, you know, Tucker Carlson comes in and says it's white genocide, it's white replacement theory. The reason you can't find a good job is because of all of these immigrants. Okay, I'm going to believe that, even though it's not true, right? It's not true. Those guys aren't taking your jobs. Corporate America is suppressing your wages is what's happening, right? So, but it doesn't matter, right? If that is what you get sucked into, that's what you get red-pilled into, and that's what you believe, and you act on that. So I do think we're going to see more of this. I don't see it chiming down anytime soon. I think Trump is now being held up as more of a martyr because of the indictments. You know, he went down to Waco. I think, you know, this got a little bit of attention, but maybe not the attention it deserved to have. That was the anniversary of the Branch Davidian situation. And even now, like, I mean, I see CNN talking about Tim McVeigh, and they call him, you know, anti-government, but they're not calling him what he is, a neo-Nazi. I mean, he was down there at the Branch Davidian complex outside at the barricade handing out Nazi flyers that had swastikas on them.
Right. Right.
He was handing out copies of the Turner Diaries. And folks that don't know what that is a right-wing extremist novel where at the end of the novel, after the race war is over, they have something called Day of the Rope. And Day of the Rope is when you put every, you know, degenerate on the end of a rope and you hang them, whether it's a black person, a brown person, a Jewish person, a gay person, a trans person, right? So all you're left with is your white ethno-state. So this is the kind of literature and media these guys are, you know, lapping up. So it is increasing, and I am concerned about it. But, you know, like I mentioned earlier, I don't know how you differentiate between the guy that does the mass shooting and the guy that doesn't, because if you look at their social media profiles or what they're saying on Telegram or wherever else, it's all the same, right? it's easy to say in retrospect, oh, the signs are there. Look what this guy was posting. But I can show you hundreds of profiles where people are posting the same stuff and they're not going to do a mass shooting. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But it does contribute to the anger in the country, and the 2% that are willing to actually take up arms, take up pipe bombs, manufacture ghost guns, whatnot. You don't need a big group to cause a massive problem. You don't need a big group to kill a lot of people. It just needs to be a small group willing to do it. That's the concern.
You'll be back Thursday with Ron Placone. And then Friday with your own show, Right Wing Insanity Report. Do we know what's on the plate this Friday?
Well, it's changing now as we speak because there's some bigger stuff happening. I do want to go over some of the Proud Boys stuff because they've now received sentences, convictions. And I also think some of this is what's driving an increase in anger, right? So a lot of these individuals are being thrown up as martyrs with the anti-government groups, right? So they were just there protesting. They're really not domestic terrorists. They weren't trying to overturn the government. They weren't insurrectionists. All of that meme stuff wasn't really supposed to be violent, blah, blah, blah. All these things you hear. So I think that this is also in the same way, if I could make the comparison to Waco, actually, in the same way you had a run up to what Tim McVeigh did in Oklahoma, I feel like we're on a similar course of rage right now where you have the Branch Davidians were martyrs for these guys that got together in Elohim City and planned their attack. In the same way, the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys that are getting convicted for the January 6th actions are also martyrs to the cause here. So I don't know where this is headed, but I do think you're correct. It is absolutely increasing in its magnitude. I think that is unmistakably true, and it's not good.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Tina. I'll see you later this week.
Peace.
So moving on from one horrible situation to another, as you know, I was just on the road in Flint as well as Kalamazoo. Then Lewis was on the road in East Palestine for his third reporting trip there. We called it our toxic tour. We're all feeling it. My eye has been kind of sore ever since Kalamazoo from that toxic fucking paper mill that I was reporting next to. Colin, who was on the road for 2 weeks, first with me and then with Lewis, his throat is hurting and he's had a cough, probably from a mix of that toxic paper mill in Kalamazoo, and then going back to East Palestine, which is also a contamination petri dish. As far as I know, Lewis is doing okay. But we have a lot of clips we want to show you. Also, I want to push to get more people to sign up as paid members. We got about 20 paid member signups during those 2 weeks, but we got to get a lot more. So hopefully some of the clips I'm going to show you today, if you've seen them, I'll give you my thoughts. If you haven't seen them, this is what signing up as a Status Coup member is funding: actual living, breathing, on the ground reporting and exposing stuff. And just from going on the road these last 2 weeks in Flint, Kalamazoo, and East Palestine, we're already working on follow-ups and investigative stories based on information we found. So it's very, very important to keep getting people to sign up as paid members. So that's statuscoup.com/join. If you sign up as a paid member while I'm live now, I'll, of course, give you a shout out. Before I bring on the next guest, I want to play a clip from my most recent trip, my first trip, actually, to Kalamazoo. If you don't know the story, it's kind of really unbelievable. Like, you would not believe it unless you were there. But, America has a lot of paper mills and other factories that emit, steam and vapors and gases, but they are supposed to be within regulations so that they're not emitting levels that would be toxic to the human beings who live there. Well, apparently those regulations are very flexible in the state of Michigan, famous for poisoning Flint, among other things. And just getting there Thursday night, Colin and I drove into this factory's parking lot, and the smell was so horrendous and so overwhelming. Immediately, it goes up your nose, into your throat, burns your eyes, and we had to get the hell out of the parking lot. And just standing about a block or so away from where the vapors are coming out gave us both headaches, sore throat. And then I went back the next day. I want to play part of an interview. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just part of an interview with Deanne. She lives about a block away from the factory. It's a multi-billion-dollar packaging company. Let me repeat, multi-billion-dollar packaging company. A lot of your beer bottles, food, plastics, whatever, are from Graphic Packaging. And they are emitting, our guests will tell you, at least 30 forms of gases that are toxic at certain levels. And I want you to hear some of Deanne's story. This is happening out in the open. And then we're going to read, just today, the state of Michigan, after 3 years, finally released some data. You're not going to believe, A, what they released and how they're spinning it. But let me, if you haven't seen this, I want to show you some of this. Block away from the mega graphic packaging plant. It's a little rainy out, and right now drizzling, was a little heavier earlier. And I'm here with Deanne, who lives pretty much around the corner. The trees are blocking right now, but Colin is going to try his best to show you just that insane amount of smoke coming out of that paper mill just 24/7. That's why I have a mask on. We were right next to the plant yesterday, and just driving into the parking lot, Jesus Christ, the smell is overwhelming. It goes up your nostrils, into your throat. During the interview, Colin had a headache. After the interview, when we went back to the hotel, I had a headache. You kind of just feel like dazed and a little confused. Colin, how long did you have a headache? A couple hours, right? Yeah, till he went to sleep. And that's just us there for an hour. You're living here. So I wanted to speak with you because you've had just horrible tragedy, which seems to be because of this multi-billion-dollar company. You lived with your daughter, son, just 5 or so blocks away for many years.
Yeah.
And even then there was a smell. You just didn't know where it was coming from.
Yes. It was a real bad smell. Like you said, we didn't know where it was coming from. It was burning our eyes, our throats. We kept having severe asthma attacks on top of asthma attacks. I had to take my daughter almost every day to the hospital for treatment. Now since she's passed, her twin has been the same way. Almost every day this girl has to go to either Bronson Hospital or the Family Health Center for asthma treatment.
And when you lived 5 blocks, did your daughter always have severe asthma, or she kind of had minor asthma and it got worse?
No, she just had minor asthma and it got worse as the years went on and we moved around this way.
And when did you move right here, a block away?
I moved here about 5 years ago.
And tell me, your daughter, who was 17, what happened? When did this severe asthma attack happen? And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, she had an asthma attack one night and she couldn't be saved. The doctors just say she couldn't be saved. They said she was brain dead. But if I agreed to donate her organs, then they'll let her stay brain dead for 2 weeks and let us visit her. And I didn't want my daughter to suffer like that.
What year was this?
Gosh, my mind is just going through so much right now. 2017.
2017.
Yes, 2017.
So at that point, had you moved around the corner here, or you still lived a couple blocks away?
No, I still lived a couple blocks away. I moved after my daughter died.
So a 17-year-old girl, she had minor asthma, but as you moved around closer and closer to this plant, and you could smell it where she was living, her asthma got worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
Did anybody in the community, did the mayor, the politicians, neighbors, was anyone talking about that they all had you right next to this plant?
No.
That was emitting, from what I've been told, over 30 types of gases?
No. We done reached out to several people. We have not got a response back. It's like they don't care how we live. They don't care if we live or die. That's how I feel. We've been begging and begging and begging for them to do something about this factory. And they did something all right. They gave them all them billions of dollars to expand, to make it even worse for us over here.
Let's talk about your daughter for a little bit. I know it's painful, but did she have any other health problems, or was it really just asthma?
No, she was healthy. Only asthma.
Was she active?
Active, very active. Anybody know my daughter knows my daughter. She was very active. She played football, basketball, soccer, baseball, whatever sport it was, she played. And she loved to walk. She loved to sing. Yep, so.
And did she complain about the smell and all that?
Daily. She complained about the smell. She had, like I said, almost every day I had to take her to go get asthma treatment at the hospital, to the point it got so bad that the hospital had her come in 2 times a week. They had a shot flown in from California that she had to get inserted into her and stay at the hospital for like 3 hours and make sure she didn't have no kind of reaction from it, to be able to come outside. So that's how my daughter had to live.
And you know, this plant, we got there yesterday around 5 o'clock, and you could see that it's kind of, the smoke coming out of it is gray, but then at points it turns black. And today with the rain, I'm looking at it right now, and it's black.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk about certain parts of the day it smells worse than others, or the smell is thicker?
Anytime after 5, everything gets worse, because it's like everybody going home, so let's crank this up. We don't care how nobody feel. We don't care what happens to them. After 5 o'clock is when you really see the big smoke clouds in the sky, all the poison being released.
You know, you've posted video like 1 a.m. to... So that's just some of our interview. The whole thing is about a half hour. We posted it yesterday, so definitely go check it out. That's Deanne. She lives a block away. I'm joined now by Brandi. You've been leading the fight. You were living in Kalamazoo, but you left because of this. But you're basically one of the only residents. Well, not one of the only, but one of the leading residents that are kind of crowdsourcing all the complaints from residents, informing a lot of the residents who they smell it, but they didn't necessarily know where it was coming from. You've taken action against the state environmental department, the state health department, and suddenly after 3 years, it's interesting that it happened after I reported there. Fortunately, through our Breaking Points partnership, Status Coup has a partnership with Breaking Points. I did a report for them that I think has over 50,000 views. On Twitter, I think the first clip I posted had something like that, 50,000 views. Yeah. So they're definitely, it's definitely gotten more attention than it's ever gotten from the local media there. But long story short, explain to people, we'll get to what the health department released today, but explain to people there are over 30 different forms of toxic gases. It's being dumped predominantly in a majority Black, poor area. And since graphic packaging expanded, with the help of this current governor, now that smell is reaching the west side and wider area.
Yeah. There's over 30 toxic chemicals and gases coming from the plant. And getting this report today made me cry and scream at the same time. And I've been working with Michigan Department of Health and Human Services on this report myself. I've provided probably like tons of the data in health report or health studies to compare from other states, or, you know, fact sheets of hydrogen sulfide that I've provided them. You know, I've provided them residents to speak with. I've asked them to do door-to-door, but they refuse to do door-to-door surveys on to see how sick everyone was, because when I did door-to-door, everyone had respiratory disease and cancer. And I am so disappointed with the health recommendations of this health consultation. I have begged them for almost 3 years to provide health vans, health care, to have diagnosis of cancer or respiratory disease, and provide medication to residents that are unaware that they have asthma or COPD or emphysema or cancer or whatever, anything that these toxic chemicals, I mean, kidney disease, I mean, their liver disease, I mean, you name it, they cause every disease there is. I've actually looked up every single gas and chemical that graphic packaging releases, and looked up all of the health diseases that you can get for each one, and it's everything that you can get pretty much, primarily respiratory disease. The
So
fact that the
let me read the write up about this health report, because I think it's a joke. It's just astounding to me. It's basically telling the residents, yes, you're being poisoned, and telling them what they're going to do about it is nothing, and essentially just use an inhaler. That's basically what the health
and stay in
department.
your house if you're asthmatic.
Right. So the concentration of toxic gas found around a Kalamazoo, around a Kalamazoo neighborhood is a public health hazard, according to a long-awaited report from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The report was released today after nearly 3 years of analysis. So you would think if they took their sweet-ass time for 3 years, they'd have a lot more than I'm about to read from you. Levels of hydrogen sulfide, which is really the main thing they're focused on, found on the north side of Kalamazoo, which is where I reported from, near the Graphic Packaging International paper mill and the Kalamazoo wastewater plant were analyzed. The EPA says hydrogen sulfide levels are above 1.4 parts per billion, can cause health problems with long-term exposure. Sensors near the two properties showed concentrations regularly above 1.4 parts per billion from September 2019 to December 2021. Hydrogen sulfide was measured at levels of chronic exposure concern, meaning long-term exposure at the level we're measuring will lead to persistent nasal irritation in some individuals. So this was part of what they were minimizing and spinning, that the only issue here is nasal irritation, which is so not the only issue. State officials said sensors could pick up other compounds, but their analysis concludes the readings are attributable to hydrogen sulfide, an offensive smelling, colorless toxic gas. State health officials began the study in August 2020. The analysis looks at 33 months of data. The 142-page report is inconclusive in some areas, but confirms what people have wondered for years, that the gas is a health hazard. Long-term exposure to hydrogen sulfide brings an increased risk of nasal irritation even after the person stops breathing in the gas. Wasilevich said the EPA defines a lifetime exposure as 10% of a person's life, and the term generally means several years of consistent exposure. That's what we're seeing in the Kalamazoo data. There's no risk for short-term exposure. That's not true. I could tell you that.
That's a lie.
Chronic risk means if you have long-term consistent exposures at that levels, it might lead to some sort of health impact. H2S is often strong enough to smell. People with asthma or respiratory problems should go inside when they smell the odors. Well, that's a problem because it smells 24/7 there.
Right.
So I guess they're supposed to just stay inside forever and ever. Be aware of what is influencing you, this report said. If the odor is making you feel ill, shut the windows. Stay indoors on days that have a lot of odors. The health department also recommends people with asthma take their control and rescue medications. Residents with questions about their health should talk with their doctor. So let's first start with the obvious. Sounds like they're not going to do anything about this.
I think they really need to quit like with the lies too. Like, okay, they're talking about, oh, they started doing this report in August of 2020. Let's just break it down to really the truth of the meat, the meat and potatoes here, the truth. I contacted the county health department. They ignored me. They're sitting here saying the county health department is the one that asked them to do the study. No, they didn't. It was me. And they completely dismissed and said they had that they don't do anything with air pollution. They only deal with lead in the water. That's the only thing the Kalamazoo County Health Department deals with. And I think even one of the journalists today, they won't respond. Like, what are they going to do? What's the county health department going to do because of this report coming out? And the only reason why the health study was done is because I was suspicious that this odor was toxic, and I called Graphic Packaging, the wastewater plant, and I asked them both, Why are my eyes burning? Why is my asthma getting worse? And why are my neighbors asthmatic and having burning eyes and my mailman just like me? And the wastewater plant said it was graphic packaging, and graphic packaging says the wastewater plant. So I got suspicious, and I did a Freedom of Information request with the city of Kalamazoo in July of 2020. And I received these gas studies saying that we were being gassed. So then I sent these to the health department. I begged them to do the study. They ignored me. They ignored me. They ignored me. Finally, I took the gas studies. I found a toxicologist and an epidemiologist to help me with the asthma hospitalization report and paid for a toxicology report to compare these gas studies from 2009 that the city of Kalamazoo had done and 2020. And they both said there's a severe health risk to the community in 2020. So I finally sent, these reports, and they started it in January of 2021. I have the first email of when they started it, when they used the reports, which I didn't even see in there, from me and these doctors who actually like.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. You there?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Keep going. You were talking about the fact that I forgot what you were talking about, but you're
I was just saying, like, we got these gas studies, and it was so Michigan Department of Health and Human Services knew in 2020 that there was a severe health risk to the community. This is an environmental justice community in the 90th percentile of getting cancer respiratory. They know this too. This isn't rocket science, but and I had an interview with ATSDR so that they could see how stress affects people who've lived in environmental contaminated communities. As soon as I got those,
I'm assuming they also know this. I mean, this is.
Oh, they definitely know that.
This is the data. Everything. The way the chart was put together is a little confusing because it looks like 361 white, 1950 black. How does that come out to 628? But the accurate number is 1,950 black infants under the age of 1 have died in Kalamazoo County since 2015.
No, that was in 2015.
Oh, so it's even worse. I've been
saying
I'm
assuming that 2,000 babies die every year.
And by the way, unlike what the Michigan Health Department said, they're not dying of nasal irritation.
No.
asthma, other issues. And the majority of Black people live in the North Side, which is the neighborhood where Graphic Packaging is. So they know all this, but why are they spinning it like the only concern is hydrogen sulfide?
Because
And
hydrogen sulfide is the only toxic gas or chemical that graphic packaging releases, or the wastewater plant releases, that's unregulated. This is not a coincidence. They know if it's a regulated toxin, they're going to be getting the hammer on them a lot worse. And the fact that they should have had their own monitors out there. They shouldn't be going off the city wastewater plant Graphic Packaging, who has had malfunctioning equipment at least since 2009 that they haven't fixed, that were pumping out gases like this. Why would they trust their monitors? They never gave a shit. They still don't. I haven't seen even an announcement from the city of Kalamazoo today about this report that they told us they were waiting on to even help anyone. They have a foundation of excellence with hundreds of millions of dollars donated to them that could help relocate people or help bring in medical vans. Our ex-mayor is best friends with David Anderson, who is our current mayor, and he has medical vans some kind of company that has medical vans. Why aren't you in here trying to bring in healthcare medical vans? If you're not going to help people, move them. Graphic Packaging is a super fun site. This community is on the fence line of the super fun site. They are a super fun site. So the EPA has authority under EPA regulations. If it is a super fun site and there is toxic exposure to human beings, the EPA has funding to relocate communities. They've done it before. They've done it with Love Canal. I think there's a few different ones I've seen on the list where they've relocated communities when they're being exposed to toxins like this. They should have done it in East Palestine too. They should have done it in Flint and Detroit. Just get people out that don't want to be there. Some people might want to stay and stuff, but if you're not going to help everyone, get them away from this. This is insane. How do I have zero real health recommendations?
well, what I find so crazy, besides the fact that they're only focusing on hydrogen sulfide, which I understand your point, it's the only one that's not regulated. Okay, so you're basically going to say this was the only thing we found, but because there's no regulations for it, the best we could do is tell you to use your inhaler and stay inside. Well, if you're saying that your data is showing that this could pose a health hazard, maybe you should be calling for this to be regulated, this gas.
Exactly.
Obviously, there's armies of lobbyists and chemical companies that are going to fight you on it. But instead of just saying, well, there's nothing we could do because this isn't regulated and we bow down to the United Corporations of America, so stay inside when it smells, which I could tell you, I was only there for two days. It smells 24 hours a day. People on the west side are now getting it. Not as bad, but 3 days a week, they're getting it. As the weather gets hotter, earlier, you're going to smell it worse because it gets worse in hot weather.
And a lot of people don't have air conditioning because it's a low-income neighborhood.
And then the rest of it was kick the can down the road. We're going to do more studies. How much time do you need? You took 3 years just to release this.
And you already knew before you released it that this is a toxicologist. I'm not saying, I know Brandon worked hard on this. Dr. Reed is the one that was the lead toxicologist on this report. I've talked to him a few times a week for the last 3 years. So I know that he's worked on it, but he has people above him. Like I said, we've discussed this before. His boss is married to the director now of Eagle, who is the regulator. So you have, the wife who's the manager of the tox program for the health department, and the husband who's the director of Eagle, who is supposed to have regulated Graphic Packaging in the wastewater plant all these years, and he didn't. So this is another reason why I feel like this report is shit. It's just pure shit. And it's like, why the report in itself is environmental racism. The report itself is an example of environmental racism. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has had a problem with environmental racism with Flint, Benton Harbor, Kalamazoo, Detroit. I mean, you think Saginaw, there is environmental racism going all over Michigan.
First of all, let's just be clear. I don't even like the term environmental racism. This is racism. And I can tell you, because I was there, which is the value of, hint, hint, sign up for Status Coup membership. I could look something up. I could talk to people, but if you don't go to experience it yourself, you just don't know.
You don't know.
I'm telling you,
no one believed me. They thought I was crazy.
I was there, what, a week and a half ago? My eye is still sore.
I'm still having to use my inhaler like multiple times a day.
Right. The outside of my eye is sore. If you noticed in some of the videos I did, I was talking kind of loopy. It's because the gas was making me dizzy as I was standing a block away from the plant.
Too.
So when they say,
I was so scared to go, but I felt like I had to go to help bring awareness to help save people's lives. Because that's why, even though as soon as I got those gas studies, I sold my house and got the hell out of there in November of 2020. Like soon after, once I realized the EPA wasn't coming, the health department was ignoring me, the city was ignoring me. I knew that this was going to be a battle, but I wasn't going to fight this battle while I'm being gassed. My family is being gassed to death.
Right.
So I left, and I've only had 5% improvement on my lungs. And now I have to go to the asthma doctor next week. And I'm sure she's going to say, like, why are you worse again? Well, I had to go back to the scene of the crime where I got asthma in the first place. And so this is just another thing, like, I just don't understand why the government is failing us. We elect you guys to do your jobs. Like, where are you, Governor Whitmer? Where are you? Why are you not down here helping people? Why are you allowing a health consultation to be so corrupt like this? Why are you allowing the corporations to be more important than human lives? Like, how would you feel if you lived here, Governor Whitmer? How would you feel if you lived here, or your sister lived here, your cousin lived here, or your kid had to go to Western and the only place that they could rent was in this neighborhood, or they went to Kalamazoo College and they had to rent in the city where the gases are spreading all over the city? Like, how would you feel if your children were going to college here and are being exposed to toxic gases and getting sick? Think, use your brain. I don't know what you're worried about. You've already been through crises. And the way you're handling the Benton Harbor lead crisis, let's just not forget that either. She's handling it like shit. You knew about this for 3 years, that there was lead in the Benton Harbor water. And have you even tested any of the Benton Harbor residents for lead poisoning like what that was done in Flint? I haven't seen that. I haven't heard that.
Well, a few things. And by the way, shout out. I didn't even know you could do this, but thank you, Cadillac, who signed up as a YouTube member, but also just gifted 5 YouTube memberships. So for those of you that are high rollers or have a couple extra bucks, you can buy gift memberships. So Cadillac just bought 5 gift YouTube memberships. So thank you so much. Please sign up as a member. This reporting is expensive. I want to go back to Kalamazoo for longer than 2 days. I mean, Michigan, hell, I could go to Michigan for a year, and every city you go, you'll find problems. StatusCoup.com/join, become a member for as low as $5. But you said, where is Whitmer? I mean, she helped this company expand her administration.
That's why I feel like everything is being done. I mean, there's just so much corruption. Like, I can't tell you how many criminal investigators I'm talking to on top of this right now. There's agencies investigating this all over the government right now. Like, it's not just
what are they finding? Because it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, they're not going to tell me until the investigation is complete, just like they wouldn't tell me anything about the health consultation that I was helping with all these years until it was complete, or wouldn't give me a date of when it's going to be complete. They delayed it 3 times. Like, it's always like, it's during an investigation, you know. It's like, it's just, I mean, it's just another example. Like, when I don't remember if I told you this or not, but I went through a program, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services lead safe program. My son got lead poisoning in 2013. And I found out, we were in a hotel while the lead abatement was getting done on our house. And the contractors that were on the lead poisoning prevention commission with Jennifer Granholm, who appointed Michael Feller on this lead poisoning, the whole program is a fraud. They had these contractors working in this program for 20 years. I found out 6 months later, after I moved into my house that was supposed to be lead safe, with a report that said lead safe, that the house wasn't. It was 12 times more lead poisoning from the contractors that worked for MDHHS than it was before they started. And guess what? Did Michigan Department of Health and Human Services let my family know that we were being exposed and that we could be poisoned even worse by the lead? No, I had to find out through a FOIA request, which they answered 6 months later. This is a fraudulent governmental agency to the 33rd degree. And it's insane. Like, there's just so many things about our government that is just so corrupt. And now we have to file more lawsuits. And I feel like that's the only way that any of us are going to get any justice or people are going to get any money for relocation, because I have begged the EPA, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy, the governor, the attorney general, every politician in Michigan, the ATSDR, CDC, Health and Human Services, White House Environmental Justice Council, National Environmental Justice Council with the EPA, the civil rights, the NAACP, you name it. I have begged everyone for help for 3 fucking years, and nobody cared.
Well, I also think it's important when we bring this nationally. I mean, for those of you that don't know, Biden actually wanted Whitmer as his vice president. I mean, that's been reported. He wanted Gretchen Whitmer. He was convinced to go with Kamala Harris because, you know, he had made promises to the black community. He thought that would rev up black voters. Hillary Clinton lost in 2016 in large part because there was less black voters that came after her in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. And Biden's advisors convinced him make it Kamala Harris. But he was leaning towards Gretchen Whitmer. And there has been murmurs about him possibly throwing Kamala Harris overboard. I don't think he's going to do that.
I've never seen a vice president not do anything.
Well, right.
Like, I've never, like, I'm sitting here, like, where is she? Like, what is she should be standing up for, like, you know, the black community and stuff. Like, you are half black. Like, what where is everybody? Like, this is the thing.
I was bringing this up because it's very much an open secret that Whitmer is eyeing the White House either as vice president or in 2028 possibly. It's an open secret in Michigan that the current attorney general, Dana Nessel, who has fucked over Flint 7 ways to Sunday and is fucking over other communities like Kalamazoo, she's eyeing the governor's seat when Whitmer leaves. Whitmer's now in her 2nd term. So it just seems to me that you have a bunch of kind of resistance liberals, yes queens, I'm not trying to be rude, that are happy to go on MSNBC to fight the Republicans and to fight the white supremacists and go after kind of the right-wing threat, but are corrupt as fuck when it comes to their own house.
And I voted for them. Like, that's what I'm just like, I'm so annoyed. Like, I don't think that, you know, voting for Tudor Dixon would have, like, made any difference either. Like, but it's just like, if you have a choice to vote, and I see, like, I want people to vote more, but I understand why people don't vote now more, because, like, they think, like, everybody's corrupt. So who are they going to pick? Which one? The Democrats are corrupt. The Republicans are corrupt. Like, you're sitting here, like, making a choice between 2 corrupt parties. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I mean, I'm just like, to have to learn this firsthand, to have to be a victim of, you know, this genocide. You know, I had to learn this, like, the hard way, how corrupt everybody was, how much people couldn't be trusted. I didn't say that I could never trust the government. You know, I just feel like there's certain people that work in the government that are probably paid off, you know, are in the back pockets of graphic packaging possibly, or the back pockets of the city of Kalamazoo are connected to, you know, graphic packaging and Pfizer and these billionaire donors and stuff like that. So I feel like, I mean, it's just really all corruption. And I completely foresee that we will only get justice through our lawsuits now after seeing the results of this health consultation. And I believe that we will get justice through these criminal environmental justice investigations for all of the politicians and all of the governmental officials that were involved in covering up this genocide that's been happening in Kalamazoo for decades. And they at least knew since 2009. I don't know. I haven't found any studies. No, there's not any journalists have found any studies prior to 2009, but they at least knew since 2009 that there were gas leaks at both plants next to a fence line community, predominantly African-American environmental justice community. And they did nothing. And if I wouldn't have done that FOIA request, there still would be nothing being done, because we all knew there was an odor, but we didn't know if it was coming from the cemetery, the river. We thought it could have been graphic packaging. We assumed the wastewater plant. You know, I feel like it's wastewater plant located themselves next door to them in a way, probably just to like let everyone think that it was human feces that they're smelling instead of toxic gas. This odor task force, it was another cover up to like, we're going to clean up the odor. We're going to find out what the odor is. You already knew the odor was toxic since 2009. So why did you have a task force in 2018 to try to act like you're trying to do something that you're not going to ever do anything? So I feel like the right people were paid off are in power. And that's just my opinion. I believe they were paid off. The people in power were paid off to look the other way, to ignore this crisis, public health crisis. And, they don't care how many people have died, and they don't care how many people are sick or how many people will die in the future. They don't care that children at the local elementary school around the corner from both plants can't even go out for recess to play. They don't care that we have the highest asthma hospitalization rate in the region. They don't care that everyone is sick. Like, I mean, it's crazy.
Which is why what they released today is so dishonest, because it
terrible.
really minimizes it to like, well, yeah, people might have some nasal irritation. No, you have mass amounts of asthma, COPD in the community.
The nasal thing was, oh my God. No one even talks about the nasal. They talk about respiratory.
Right. There are full blocks. I mean, I was there that children don't play. There's a playground in front of Deanne's home. She said nobody's ever out in the playground.
No one.
So it's basically just a bullshit study with some data, but you also have people can't have people over to their home because guests complain of the smell. You have Gwen was telling me that her grandchildren or great grandkid, when they come over, they feel sick and don't want to come back. And when they go home outside of Kalamazoo, they feel better the next day. Yeah. That study said there is no short-term risk. Well, go ask go ask Colin. 2 weeks later, he's coughing and has a sore throat.
Or me, or all of us that were there, we got sick as shit. But like, this is happening like every day in every single neighborhood now. It was the predominantly African-American environmental justice community. But then when Governor Whitmer gave them $100 million to expand and increase the pollution by 700,000 tons, now the whole entire city is getting symptoms from all the gases. It's not just hydrogen sulfide. I don't care how many people focus on H2S or hydrogen sulfide. It's not just that. That's just the only thing that the city chose to monitor. And that's the only thing that the health department went off of, was the city monitors. And then Graphic Packaging just came out with their monitoring data on Friday and showed that their hydrogen, they were only looking for hydrogen sulfide as well. Like, come on, there's acid rain, there's sulfur dioxide, there's all kinds of dioxides and volatile organic compounds. Why were you not testing all of these? Why are like you, what, all of a sudden you're going to do a town hall after this too? They want me to go to this town hall they're having, and then what are you going to tell? You're not even able to answer people's questions because you have no recommendations even in the report. What are you going to say at the town hall to make people feel better and less anxious? Because you were supposed to include stress and how it affects, according to ATSDR in my meeting with them, and how this affects everyone. How the hell do you think it's going to stress them out getting a health consultation today saying, sorry, if you have asthma, which almost everybody does, you just got to stay in your house? Did you think, hey, well, maybe I should give them some oxygen masks? So maybe they have to have some oxygen masks when they leave the house to go to school, or leave their house to go to work, or mow their grass, or want to have a barbecue with their family, or a graduation party, or a birthday party, or something like that. Like, you're literally taking away loss of enjoyment of their entire life by allowing this both plants, to continue to have malfunctioning equipment, no scrubbing filters on the smokestacks, nothing. Like, you're doing nothing. Where are the recommendations to stop the gassing? Where are the recommendations to get the people away from getting gas?
Not to minimize the sickness, but you're actively killing people. I mean, people are dying. Deanne had a 17-year-old daughter. I have small, like very minor asthma. I got it actually after having COVID, but her daughter had minor asthma. She moves her couple blocks from this plant. Her daughter got severe asthma and died at 17. Her son, I didn't play the full interview. Definitely watch the full interview. We posted it yesterday. It's about a half hour. You're not normal if you don't cry or throw something. Her 32-year-old son, same story. Minor asthma, like, doctor said he'll grow out of it, was very active playing sports. So was her daughter. Now her 32-year-old son's on life support and 24/7 oxygen. Was fine before they moved to this block.
I had no asthma either until I moved here. And that's why I kept getting suspicious, because like every year I kept getting worse and worse. And then the burning eyes, like.
And by the way, how do you do this study without knocking on doors and getting
That's
rates?
what I said. If you were to FOIA request the emails between me and Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy, I mean, it'd probably be hundreds or 1,000. I mean, it literally, that's that. And I can't tell you how many times I've begged them to go door to door. I even said I would have done it myself. And they're like, that'll be a HIPAA violation if you do it. But it's not going to be if it's the state health department, right? That's not a HIPAA violation for the state health department to go door to door. That's the state health department or the county health department. Get the county health department. But even if they go to door and they come out with results from the door-to-door study.
It's just crazy. By the way, I put in the description of this video, not that it's going to change the world, but, some people ask me what you could do. I put Governor Whitmer's multiple phone numbers in the description under the video.
Share it on your social media pages. That helps.
Yeah. I put Kalamazoo Mayor David Anderson. They don't give a number, so I put his email. I also put the page. He never comments. Yeah. I also put the email for city commissioners. So that's right in the description. Phone bomb, not real bomb. Phone bomb Whitmer. Flood of the mayor's email box. I mean, by the way, I saw under the Breaking Points video that I did, which again, thanks to you, the Status Coup viewers, people who fund our on-the-ground reporting. The reason we have a partnership with Breaking Points, which helps get us from, 5,000 views on this channel to 50,000 on their channel. So it's expanding the eyeballs. It helps get new subscribers to our channel. It also helps fund some of the reporting. But the most important thing is, at the end of the day, there are paper mills like this around the country. A lot of them have smells because they're releasing similar stuff. However, not all of them don't have, what'd you say, the carbon filter that you were mentioning?
Yeah, they don't have any carbon filters on their smokestacks. They don't have any filters like on their near their boiler. I mean, they just have nothing. They don't have enough monitors. Like they purposely don't monitor because they don't want us to know. It's crazy to me that they're so gung-ho on soil and water testing. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has never, ever done an air pollution study. I'm the first one to ever get them to do one. Like, it's 2023. Did you never even care how the air quality affects Michigan residents all of these years, especially in predominantly African-American communities? It's not a coincidence that the African American population are still a minority. They've been killed off.
Well, I also want to point out, I mean, it's just crazy. Not only did I see comments under our videos and the Breaking Points video that I did, but I also saw people saying, I live 20 minutes away from here. And this is the first time I've ever heard of this.
Right. And they're getting poisoned too because the air blows. Which
is really damning as far as the media. There's been some local media coverage, but basically just
don't get me started.
Regurgitating
mainstream media. And this is another thing. I've had CNN and ABC News tell me that they weren't going to report until this health consultation came out. So, I sent it to them. We'll see if they're going to report on it or not.
Well, they're going to report, basically just rewrite that weak sauce and live write-up. And they're not going to ask any questions. They're just going to regurgitate what the state said, because that's basically what the media does. They regurgitate when the EPA says Flint's water is safe. They don't ask any residents. They don't do any investigation. They just regurgitate. They'll regurgitate what the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services said, which is, it's kind of teetering the line of a health hazard, but just stay inside. do your inhaler, and that's it. I mean, what kind of journalism is that?
Well,
I mean, it's just
I
crazy.
feel like I say Brad with M Live has done the most coverage out of anybody local. So I wouldn't say, I think Brad's just interpreting the health study of what it's saying. He's just like saying what it is. Like he just, I think that he'll be doing more stories too, like about the school.
That's fine.
And stuff.
I don't know, Brad, but my point is, you don't want to just regurgitate what the state is telling you. You then want to challenge the state. How is this okay? What about the other toxic gases that are coming out of there? How many residents as part of your study did you speak with? How many doors did you knock on? Did you look into the rate of asthma, COPD, cancers, et cetera, et cetera?
Mm-hmm.
These are
I think
basic
he probably
questions.
will do a follow-up. I think he just wanted to get it out there right when he got it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll do a follow-up. Yeah.
I got it.
But like, yeah, the national news, they just don't care though. Like they've known about this too. And they just don't care I don't know what it is, but like to me, like I feel like the mainstream media is bought too. So bought and paid for by the corporations of America. And so
you better believe it. I got some other stories. We'll probably wait till tomorrow because I got to go watch the baby. But between what's still going on in Flint, East Palestine, I mean, every day I'm finding out new stuff. Unfortunately, in certain stories, some sources that were helping suddenly disappeared, which concerns me a little bit. But at the end of the day, you don't really, yes, data is important, but the value, if you're a journalist or even a government person, all you got to do is go into the community, stay there for a few days, speak with residents, smell it yourself.
God, I don't do anything just to get employees of Environmental Great Lakes and Energy, which I swear I've mentioned this probably at a public hearing because I get so pissed off. But I would love for the governmental officials, including the governor of Michigan, the attorney general of Michigan, Environmental Great Lakes and Energy employees who work in the air quality department, who have ignored and allowed companies all over Michigan to get permits to increase pollution and poison people to death, and the employees at the plants. And even President of the United States, get some tents, camp out, see what it's about, see what it's like. I bet you if you camped out there for 2 hours, your ass is out of there. You wouldn't even be able to go there, or just bring a party bus, have everybody come down here, take a tour through the neighborhood for a couple hours, see how really bad people are living, see how really bad this is affecting people, and stop being fucking racist. This is all about racism, but you don't even realize that because of redlining, which is still an ongoing issue with local governments because it's been outlawed in the federal government since the 60s. You should understand that racism is this is the reason why we have a lot of problems in the United States of America right now. Like the crime is related to pollution. A lot of the crime and stuff, they focus on it, the African Americans committing crimes instead of white people, unless it's a mass shooting. Because I don't really ever see any African Americans out here shooting up schools and malls. I just see white people doing it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Very rare.
Majority of the crimes that they say African Americans commit, all these crimes, these gun crimes or robberies or all these other things. A lot of the people that commit crimes is because they can't feed their families, or because they need a gun to protect themselves from getting shot themselves. And then you're putting all these people in prison and you're ruining families. You're putting them in there double or triple the time that you are putting white men in there or white women. And this is it's a crime of racism, everything. You think that when you're locating African Americans next to hazardous facilities and you're keeping this zoning like this, like the city of Kalamazoo has done and other cities like Flint and Detroit, you're allowing these permits to be approved. You think that you're just poisoning these minority communities, but you're actually poisoning everybody. You're so dumb. You don't even know what you're doing. Like they're literally poisoning themselves even. Some of these people involved in this, they don't even realize like the greed, the evil, like the racism, like racism is evil. That's what it is. And if we don't change this, I mean, look at climate change too. That's related to racism. You wonder why there's a hurricane happening or a tornado happening. It's because of racism. Like all the pollution is concentrated in these environmental justice communities in the United States. and in other areas of the world as well. So it's really about money. And until people start speaking up and saying, we want you to care more about human health, and we want you to care more about human beings, because we are a human race. We are all red inside. It does not matter what the color is of our skin on the outside. We are all God's children. We were all made and created to be here in this world, and we should not be treating people differently because the color of their skin is different. I mean, for God's sakes, white people use tanning beds to get darker. I mean, what the hell? Like, I mean, it's just
well, frankly, I hate to say it, and we haven't aired the interview yet. By the way, folks, we have a lot of stuff from Flint, Kalamazoo, and East Palestine that we have not aired yet. So you're going to see a lot more content. We recorded quite a lot of the interviews we did. Some of it we went live when we were on the road, but a lot of it was recorded too. But one of the interviews I did was with David Banach, who you sent me to. Mm-hmm. Nice guy, happens to be white, lives on the West Side. Since Graphic Packaging expanded operations in 2022 with the help of current Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration, who helped them expand by approving a $125 million bond. By the way, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. They didn't need Michigan's help to expand.
They sure did, because they had $100 million in green bonds from their investors too. And they didn't tell the investors they were being investigated for environmental racism. So their investors got screwed.
So basically, it's probably only going to change if more white people in the nicer part of town are poisoned, and then they're going to complain, and then the politicians will step in. Right. We can't have.
Maybe because they know now. They know. I mean, it's been out there that it's spread to the white areas as well. There's low income white communities that are being poisoned too. It's not just minority communities, because I grew up in Dowagiac, which is a lower income. I would say it, at certain points, it's not probably predominantly white now. It's more of a mixture. And it was more Native American a long time ago too, but we had factories and they were located next to the schools. So it's like, but no one knew back then. Now everybody knows what the chemicals are. They already know that they cause health problems. They've known this for a really long time. That was in the 90s. So now everyone knows. So why aren't you doing anything? Where are you, ATSCR? You should have been in this report. You should have been all in this report. Like, what's up? You're supposed CDC and ATSCR. Come on now. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, like, just shut down. You're not helping anyone.
Well, I hate to say it, but you basically have the same criminals that helped Governor Rick Snyder cover up the Flint water crisis. Whitmer kept a lot of those people around in the health department and environmental department, people that were in there that knew about Flint. People were drinking toxic water who helped cover it up. A lot of those same people are still in those cushy state government jobs.
And
somehow.
but Wausau, where is the response to Flint lead water crisis and the response to Benton Harbor, Michigan, lead water crisis? It's night and day. Where's the lead testing? Where's the national media on the Benton Harbor? What was that, like a couple of days? They probably said it in the news. Where are the arrests? You had all these arrests for the Flint water crisis when they found out it happened. I haven't seen anyone get arrested for everyone getting poisoned in Benton Harbor. The only thing
you had charges. You had charges. Nobody has
arrests and charges, right? But like, you see nothing for Benton Harbor. All you see is, and in Benton Harbor, this is another thing that really pisses me off about Benton Harbor, is that St. Joseph is a predominantly white community. Benton Harbor is predominantly black community. They are across the freaking bridge from each other. Whirlpool is like the biggest corporation over there. They're located in both cities. And you have a lead water crisis across the bridge. You have the shittiest freaking roads I have ever seen in my life in Benton Harbor. Burnt down houses, abandoned houses, just complete disinvestment because it's a black community. But you go across the bridge and it's beautiful, white, everything's clean, no abandoned houses, no lead in the water, nothing. This is all racism. Every single thing in Michigan that is corrupt, to me, involves racism. That's what I believe in my heart of hearts, and all the knowledge that I've gained from my activism and studying and working with doctors to try to help save my family and friends, my communities around Michigan. Like, that's what it is. It's really like, and it's so stupid because if they really care about money so much, if that's what they care about, they have to understand that they're liable for this stuff. So you had what, a $600 million settlement so far with the Flint residents, mostly children. You know,
Well,
you're making hundreds
yeah.
million, you're making hundreds of $1 billion mistakes by being racist. It's all going to come back eventually to bite you in the ass.
Right.
So just stop doing it now. Come help now. Do your job. What are you guys doing? This is what I feel like everybody in these governmental agencies are making what? $80,000 to $100,000 a year sitting on their fucking ass, really, because I haven't seen them do shit. Every single person in Environmental Great Lakes and Energy should be fired. Everyone at Michigan Department of Health and Human Service should be at least fired. Like, if you're not going to get charges, get another job, because you don't give a shit about human health. You're supposed to protect human health and the environment at Environmental Great Lakes and Energy. That's your job. Not to work with Michigan Department of the Economic Development Corporation. That's not your job. You know, and it's not the governor's job to protect corporations who aren't even Graphic Packaging is located in Atlanta, Georgia. You're not supposed to be protecting out-of-state corporations. You're supposed to be protecting the residents that voted for you that live in your state. That's who you're supposed to be protecting. You're not supposed to be protecting the pockets of a $1 billion corporation. You're not supposed to be protecting the pockets of $1 billion corporations going through the city wastewater plant next door to Graphic Packaging. You're supposed to be enforcing the regulations, and you should be shutting them down at this point. I mean, at least it shows this is hazardous. Why isn't the state police in there right now shutting them down? Because the state police assist in criminal pollution violators like this. And they're not down there. Nobody's down there helping. Like, this is just going to make more people have panic attacks, because they have been waiting on a study for 3 years. The city of Kalamazoo, I mean, it didn't matter how many people called in the city of Kalamazoo meetings. They kept saying, we're not doing anything until the consultation's released. We're waiting on the health consultation. Okay, well, here's the health consultation. What are you going to do?
I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to they handed out filters in Flint. Maybe they'll hand out some inhalers.
Probably. They should be handing out some oxygen masks or something. Like, this is insane. Like, I just cannot believe they're not helping at all. It's like medical vans. What's wrong with that? Like, at least get the people tested. I mean, I hope to God everyone at Lincoln Elementary School around the corner who can't even go out for recess, that all those kids have been tested for asthma. But who knows? We have a family health center, a clinic that most everybody in the neighborhood goes to be diagnosed with anything, anytime they have a problem. They could have had a partnership with the family health center, which you need to work with this family health center, because they are like your best option for helping residents, because it's a health center located inside the environmental justice community. Did you see anything in the report about them? No. Every single thing I have recommended to be in this health consultation, I barely seen anything. And they asked me for advice all the time when they were doing this. And everything that I've given them of advice, and every report that I had a doctor do. I mean, even Dr. Ansel, he said this, he goes, this is crazy. Like, he didn't even believe that this, because he helped me with the asthma hospitalization report. He knows this is watered down. He knows this is just it's not the truth. There's nothing, there's no truth in this report. There's no recommendations to help people, to help save lives. This is like one of the worst public health crises in the world, like in the United States, at least right now. And there's nothing being done by anyone. Like, President Biden signs this executive order for environmental justice, wants all the federal agencies to focus on environmental justice. That's one of our main focuses of our government right now, is environmental justice. Here's the report. Where's the help?
Right.
Where's the help?
Well, I'll stay on it. Sorry, you guys are still dealing, but I think there's a little momentum. We definitely got a lot more eyeballs on this the last few weeks, between my reporting for Status Coup, obviously, and then Breaking Points. There's a lot of people pissed off, so we're going to stay on it. And I'm hoping
we appreciate you, Jordan, because I honestly think that if you wouldn't have came to Kalamazoo, I think that I'm just going to be straight honest. I really think that if Jordan and Status Coup did not come down to Kalamazoo, this health study would still be delayed. I believe it's because you came down and you reported on the ground and you got sick yourself. And that probably raised a red flag too. Like, he doesn't even live here. Colin doesn't even live here. And they got sick too. Because I sent all of your videos to the health department. I sent all your videos to Eagle and everybody else. And that you continuously kept reporting it, like that you were there for a few days on the ground doing this. I believe that that's why the health consultation was released today, because of you. And so thank you for that. Even though it's not what we wanted, it was something that everyone's been waiting on or using an excuse of why they're not helping, because this health consultation is not released. Now that the health consultation is released, I expect action to be taking place all this week. If not,
and now the next step, you have a meeting. They'll probably bullshit you like they have these other communities, but at least you have a meeting scheduled for next week, is it?
I think it is the 18th, if I could be correct. I don't have it in front of me, but it's the 16th or the 18th of May.
So there's things happening at least, rather than them just, stonewalling you like they've been doing the last couple of years. So yeah, we'll stay on it.
One thing I could say about this is that, like, because I did that FOIA request and found the hydrogen sulfide, that we knew what the odor was, because none of us knew where the odor was, where it was coming from. And everybody called me crazy. Reporters called me crazy. Like, it was just crazy. So, like, I feel like at least everyone knows I'm not crazy. Like, there really is a hazard. There really is a health risk. Like, at least that. But you know what? Like, how you keep, this is just another example of how you should always listen to the residents. You should listen to people who are complaining of being sick in communities, like, city councils, city commissions. If your residents are sick, listen to them, especially if there's a lot of them. This is not a coincidence, listen to them, help them. Everything starts on the local level. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to run ever for like a city commissioner or a county commissioner position, like, make sure that you listen to the people. Listen to the people when you're a governor. Listen to the people when you're the president of the United States. Listen to the people when you're a governmental agency, when you're getting paid to like protect human health and the environment. Like, do your job, like, all over the United States. Like, I'm hoping that people that work in governmental agencies are watching this someday and see, like, God, please, like, I'm just begging you, like, I'm just one person, like, I'm just a person with a big heart that I got on high blood pressure medicine for helping to try to save lives of everyone. And I'm sick and my son was exposed, and like, I'm doing this University of Michigan study where they're going to test my blood to see like if I'm going to get cancer. Like, that's scary to me, like, I don't want that. And I don't want that for anyone, and people are scared. But now with this health consultation that was released today, I feel like it's just going to make everybody more scared, because there's no recommendations to help. This was supposed to be to help us. Like, that's what we were waiting on this for. It wasn't to tell us that there's hydrogen sulfide in the air at concentrations above minimal health risk level. We already knew that. We can look it up online and see from the monitors that the city has up, that's had up for years, like that. We can see, like, once they put those online, I think it was last year, we could see that there was a health risk already. It's the problem is that we were waiting for the health department to tell us that they have help for everyone. You're the state of Michigan health department. You're supposed to help people. You help people when there's any type of disease. When they had the Legionnaires, well, supposedly they tried to help. That was a fail too. But anytime there's some type of like outbreak or disease or something like that, they're supposed to be there on the ground helping. This is a public health crisis. Get down there and help, please. Like, do your job. Do your fucking job, everybody. I'm so tired. Like, I'm so tired of fighting this battle for people just to do their jobs. Like, that's all it is. It's just doing your job. Like, That's it. That's it.
Thanks for joining us again. I appreciate it.
Thank you for helping bring awareness.
Absolutely. I'll stay on it.
Later. Okay. Bye-bye.
So that's Brandi from Kalamazoo. We have quite a few more interviews from Kalamazoo that we're going to be releasing this week. Colin is taking the week off because he was on the road for 2 weeks, so you'll be stuck with me. Hopefully there's less tech problems, but when it's just me doing the tech, it always is a little rocky waters, but Colin deserves some time off. Let me read some super chats. Hold on. Don't go anywhere because a couple other things. Humorous, $10. Why would you think any different, Jordan? We are the slaves owned by the people that own us. We allowed them to own us. Why is everyone so dumbfounded by this? We allowed what happened to us. Yeah, you're right. That's why I have been calling. We need a general strike in this country, not just to strike the corporate class, but to strike against our government, because our government is allowing this, as we're seeing in Michigan, Flint, Kalamazoo. We're seeing in Ohio, East Palestine, and so many other stories that we're covering. It's all the same thing. Government is either in on the cover up with corporate America or looks the other way. It's just unconscionable at this point. Humorous, another $10. Hey, Colin, you're overworked and you do a great job. Everyone seems to forget behind the scenes. Tell Jordan to buy you something that you need because we need you. I will buy him a pony. Or you guys could just leave more super chats and I'll send it to Colin. Thank you. Humorous. Thank you to Cadillac. I think it was Cadillac that signed up as a member and purchased 5 gift memberships. So that's something you could do too through YouTube. Also, if you're not yet a Status Coup member, listen, just this tour that we did for 2 weeks. Let me get this. Starting in Flint. Then we went to Kalamazoo. Then Lewis was in East Palestine. 2 weeks on the ground. I haven't crunched every number, but estimating probably cost us about $6-7 grand between flights, hotels, rent a car, food. On the ground reporting is expensive. We don't have any money from corporate America, the banks, the fossil fuckers, big pharma, big real estate, Silicon Valley, the military industrial complex, the Koch brother, Soros. We don't have any of their money. We are funded directly from you, the people, and we are incredibly consistent, I believe. We're on the ground way more. Frankly, as far as I know, we're the only independent outlet on the ground this much, this consistently across the country, not just going when shit's blowing up, but going again and again and again. I just made my 19th reporting trip to Flint. Lewis just made his 3rd reporting trip in 3 months to East Palestine. I know he'll be back. We go back even when we know the views are going to be a lot less, even when we know the views aren't going to be good, because it's important and it's the right thing to do to stay on these stories. And we hope as time goes on, more people find us. YouTube doesn't make it easy, but we hope more people find us, because when people find this reporting, generally speaking, they subscribe and eventually they sign up as paid members, because that's what we need. If we keep getting, if we keep adding, if we can get like 20 to 30 new members a week, that is how we're going to grow for the long term. That is how I'm going to be able to hire other reporters. Do you notice how much better things have been? How much more we've been able to cover? How much more we've been able to break since we brought on Lewis? I want to bring on more people, not just me, not just Lewis, but more on the ground reporters, more investigative reporters. But I need your help. So if you're not yet signed up, please sign up today. That's statuscoup.com/join. statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. $5 a month equals 16 cents a day. $10 a month equals 33 cents a day. So, if you don't have that, that's totally fine. If you do have that, if you spend $5 to $10 a month on other things that you don't necessarily need, if you really think about it, or maybe you spend $5 to $10 a day on something you don't necessarily need, please consider sending that over to us, because we're actually spending it on what's important, and that is on the ground investigative reporting. Even when we're not on the ground, we're following up on these stories. We're investigating things. Right now, I'm working on 2 to 3 different stories, which one of them I believe is going to be big. I'm just working through some things with some sources. So definitely we'll stay on that. Holy cow, Joanne Keene just gifted 10 Status Coup memberships. Holy cow. Now we're really rocking. thank you so much, Joanne. That is incredibly generous of you. So thank you. I'm going to have to talk to Colin about this. This is the first time I've even seen it. We've gotten 2 sets of gifted memberships today. One from Cadillac, which was 5 gifted memberships, and another one from Joanne, which was 10. So that's 15 new memberships, thanks to the generosity of Cadillac and Joanne. So thank you. And anybody, if you want to gift 1 membership, 5 memberships, 10 memberships, it's really helpful. Makes a huge difference. So thank you. And tomorrow we'll have Steve Grumbine back, but we're going to go through some of my reporting on the ground in Flint, some of Lewis's reporting on the ground in East Palestine. Like I said, we have a lot of footage we have not released yet, just because there's a ton of stuff we recorded, and we didn't want to just dump it all at once. So we will be releasing more stuff from East Palestine, more stuff from Flint, more stuff from Kalamazoo. Please continue supporting this channel. If you can't support us financially, you can press the like button. You can share this reporting. So please, I know that, other channels cover more of the food fight between YouTube hosts. Most of the rest of YouTubes are doing mostly reactionary, substanceless bullshit, hot takes. We do that occasionally, but most of the time we're doing the in the trenches, on the ground, important reporting on the stories that everybody else is ignoring because they don't give a shit and they don't find it profitable. Well, we do give a shit, and we aren't even that worried about being super profitable. We just want to be able to pay the bills, be able to pay Colin, be able to pay Lewis, Tina, Steve, Ron, Kim, myself, pay for travel, pay for equipment, and keep going. Thank you so much for the generous super chat. Mika Gelfand, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you for the $50 super chat. Love your awesome and authentic journalism and interviews. Thank you so much. And let me also mention, you might not think it matters, but word of mouth actually has helped us. A lot of times even when I'm on the ground reporting, I'll meet people that are residents who have never heard of us because they don't see us on YouTube. We're small, we're independent, and they love what we're doing. They're appreciative that we are there covering these things. And I'll tell them, spread the word, tell your friends, tell your family. And all of a sudden, I'll start getting emails from people in Kalamazoo or Flint or wherever we go. Hey, I just heard of you or just saw you for the first time. So-and-so told me. So word of mouth really makes a difference. So not just sharing stuff on social media, but just telling people in your life, even if they're not like hardcore into politics, most people care about water being safe. Most people want their kids to breathe fresh air. They don't want to be poisoned. So they don't have to be like hardcore, progressives or hardcore political nerds. They just have to care about this planet, their communities. So definitely support us. Thank you so much. Just Isaac, 1999. Now we're moving. Now we're grooving. Thank you for the super chat. Just Isaac, 1999. The super chats definitely help as well. We got a lot of great donations while we were on the road as well, including a $500 donation from Linda, I thought it was. So thank you to Linda. That was so appreciated. Colin could tell you when he's back. I'm always like the Debbie Downer and grumpy motherfucker on the road because I'm like, shit, look at this. These flights and the hotels, we're spending like $2,000, $3,000, and we're not getting member signups and shit. We're not really getting donations. And then it's just like, if there is a God, God is listening. All of a sudden, a wonderful viewer will drop like 500. We've had people drop 1,000 in the past, and it takes just a huge boulder off my shoulder. Not that covers the complete cost of the trip, but it at least helps it so we're not like bleeding money, because obviously we can't survive if we're bleeding money. And Lewis, obviously, we want to pay for his reporting. So thank you for the super chats. Woo! For the gifted memberships. Thank you to those who Cadillac purchased 5 gift memberships. Joanne, 10 gift memberships. So that's 15 new members just today. Thank you. feel free to email me, either of you, info@statuscoup.com, so I could thank you personally. Info@statuscoup.com, and I'll email you for my email address. I don't give out my email address generally, because if I do, I already have too many emails, but info@statuscoup.com, and then I'll email you back. Jordan sounds like a grumpy George Harrison. A little bit, especially when my daughter keeps me up all night, even though I love her. 6 months old in a few days. My wonderful daughter, Lily. My wife will not let Lily look at the screen. She's very, very militant. No screen time. She can't look at the TV. She won't let me show Lily any of my videos, any of my reporting. I'm trying to get Lily from a very young age into justice journalism, into social justice, aware of corruption, even though she's only almost 6 months. I'm trying to get her into this stuff, but my wife will not let me show. She wants no screen time because it will blind her, apparently. I digress. I don't know if you new parents out there or old parents agree with her. I think a little screen time is okay. I mean, I don't want my 6-month-old daughter having an iPad or, watching TV all day, but a little bit is okay. A little bit is okay. Melissa, do you have a P.O. box? Yes. Email us, info@statuscoup.com, and I'll send you our P.O. box. Actually, I'll send it to you right here. Hold on. What is our P.O. box? There's the P.O. box if you want to send us something. Make sure it's not anything hazardous or dangerous that you're sending us. But I just put it in the chat. Let's see. Jordan, there are books out there. LOL. I read. I'm reading about a book about Alan Dulles right now, who orchestrated the assassination of JFK. Just saying. All right. Did I miss anything? Mika, thank you so much for the $50. Just Isaac, thank you so much. Let me see if I missed any signups through the website. All right. I did not. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, we got more stuff for release. Make sure you are signed up to our Substack. You could sign up to our Substack for free. That's Status Coup. Oh, books for Lily. I do read to Lily. Of course, we read to Lily. For the baby to avoid screen time, not you. I got it. We do read to Lily. My favorite book that I read to my daughter so far is The Farting Penguin. So if you have a new child, gotta love The Farting Penguin. It's a series of books about farting animals. So that's my favorite so far that I read to Lily. She loves it. She loves it when I fart on her. Like I take her up to me and go, on her belly button. She loves that. Giggles. Anyway, I'm being dorky new father here. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. Again, anybody could sign up at any time. StatusCoup.com/join. And for the folks that did the gift memberships, feel free, email me, info@statuscoup.com, and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.